Hi, welcome to my channel, Fun Speech Path. My name is Lena. I'm a pediatric speech language pathologist, and today's video is going to be about moving your kiddo up from using a chewy tube to actually practicing chewing with food. One of the best ways to do that is to cut your food in a particular way, and I'm going to talk about that in a second. First, why do we use a chewy tube? Well, we'll use a chewy tube with a kiddo who has skill-based feeding issues. So, for example, because they transition from the bottle excuse me, a little later, they just haven't used their muscles enough to chew their food properly. Why would that be? Because if they're getting their nutrition from a bottle, they're not really going to be very hungry for solid food, and so they're just not getting the practice, right? Or it could also be because they have weakness due to sensory feeding issues. So if they are averse to hard, crunchy foods, they're not going to be using these muscles or getting that practice in by chewing, right? They're going to prefer foods like maybe applesauce, yogurt, things that are very soft, things that really don't require much strength here. You take it off the spoon and then that's it, just swallow, done, right? So we start off with a chewy tube, especially if your kiddo has sensory issues, because you just want to take away the food element, whatever it is they're averse to. You work on strengthening. Another reason why we start with a chewy tube is because we get to work on the cues. So what I will transition or generalize into feeding activities with food, I start off with the chewy tube by giving them the cues, open your mouth, say, let's put the chewy tube on your molar. We do chew, 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 chomp, 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 depends. I started using chomp, chomp, chomp because of that video. I think it's dinosaur stomp. A lot of kids love it. So if I use something that they're familiar with, then, more likely that they're going to participate with me because I'm positively associating this activity that they're not very familiar with something that they absolutely love. And then, sometimes we'll use the song, I'll use the same tune, whatever makes them happy, keeps them engaged, keeps them focused on me, excuse me, and keeps them practicing because that's what we really need. But now let's say you've been using the chewy tube for some time. We can't stick to that forever, and we really shouldn't. So I work on transitioning to foods that they're more willing to accept. Something that's not as pungent, unless you have a kiddo who, we're getting into sensory feeding, and there's a lot of information I can give you. I don't want to get too distracted. But yeah, it depends on the child. It depends on what their needs are. It depends on what they prefer. If they need more pungent or more flavorful foods in order to wake up the oral cavity so that they know what's going on, they know where their muscles are, they know where their teeth are, their tongue, they understand that it's moving, like they're getting all the sensations, and that helps them feel awake and engaged, then I'll use something that's a little more flavorful. But for the most part, I start off with a few bland things, maybe slightly sweet, like an apple. I've also started with cucumbers because really flavorless, but there's a lot of water content there, so perfect for those kiddos who are having issues with hydration as well. But again, a lot of information I can give you. I want to stick to the topic, which is how to incorporate foods to replace the chewy tube. The best way is to start off by using a matchstick shaped food. So you can start off with something like pretzels, but if you want to stay away from processed foods, which although there is a benefit to that because flavor is pretty consistent, right, in these packaged foods. And sometimes, if you're going with an apple like I am today, you might have one that's a little more tart one day. You might have one that's sweeter than the one you used yesterday. Like it depends. But for the most part, as long as you stick to the same type of apple that they like, flavors will be somewhat consistent. You can always use some kind of a dip with it, like yogurt, sugar, cinnamon. Make a little dip. Have them try that out if they need something a little sweeter. Again, that's just to be engaged. But let's start with the apple and the matchstick, okay? So start off by wedging your apple, and then you will slice it down. Oops, I'm not holding it high enough. You'll slice it down like this, and you'll get a piece that looks like this, right? So then cut that again. I'm just going to put this down here because I don't want to. There we go. So we slice that in half and you get a piece like this, almost like a French fry. You can make it a little thinner, but why is this beneficial? There's enough room for you to hold it, place it on their molar, and have them chomp or chew down. Sometimes we use bite. Take a bite and then crunch, crunch, crunch. But really, we bite with our front teeth, and then eventually we move the food back. But again, more information than you need in this video. So again, I'll show you here. Take your apple, you slice it. Let's do that one more time. And I'll show you the piece you get. There we go. You get something that looks like this, and then you can see how you can easily cut it into thinner pieces, right? But just as long so that you can have more control, safety, and you get to direct the placement of the food. Push it back on their molar. You need to take off the skin. That is tougher for some kiddos to break down, but depends. It always depends. Every kiddo is different. Try it out, see if it works. If it doesn't, move on to another food type, or just give them some extra time. Sometimes that's all they need. Okay, so I hope, I have apple in my hair now. All right. I hope you found this helpful. I am going to try to pop on my channel as often as I can to record little tips and tricks that I use to make your lives easier. I know it is difficult. I don't expect you to take these things and become a therapist. I can't even suggest that because you want to become an SLP, you have to go to school for that, okay? So don't put that kind of pressure on yourself either. You're not the therapist. You're the parent. You're the caregiver. You're the older sister or brother. You're the father, whatever. That is your role. Just take these activities and incorporate them into your daily routines as much as possible so that they get more opportunities. That's really all you have to do. You don't have to be the therapist, okay? There's no data that you need to collect. All right, take care. I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.